the power of humility. Do not let yourself get too high about things or accolades or what other people say. Number one, to know who you are and the rest there. And then no more self. Don't be sort of be so self-reliant. As men especially, I've got to do it myself. I got to be self-reliant, self-sufficient. No one reaches their full potential by themselves. Number two. And number three is that, that the greatest gift is a service you give. Martin Luther King said, everyone cannot be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness comes through service. And we've been just exceptionally blessed because every day we look at how can we serve, how can we help make life better for the people that are around us, for the situations we walk in, what value can we bring to it? And in doing so, you keep what you have by giving it away.
Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. It's an amazing day and I'm excited. The gentleman that we have today, man, if words could describe him, I would just say unbelievable. He's unbelievably nice, unbelievably epic, and he's a mentor to me. I have a special place in my heart for this gentleman, and let me welcome to the show right now. He's going to add a lot of value. So I want to tell you from the get-go, you got to get your pens, you got to get your papers out, because when you put pen to paper, the magic happens and you retain more information. So let's welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, the one and only Dr. James Dentley. Woo!
Hey, I'm glad to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Dr. James. How you doing, brother?
I am phenomenal.
You're phenomenal. Well, yes, you are phenomenal. I know you're phenomenal, and many people that know you're phenomenal, but let the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show audience know, who is Dr. James Dentley? I like my guest to introduce himself. So tell us who you are about yourself, Dr. James, if you don't mind.
Wow. Okay. I'm born and raised in Chicago. I spent about 5 years living in Texas, 5 years living in Georgia. And actually, my mom was a single parent raising my three sisters and myself. She raised us to love each other, to bond together, to stay committed and loyal to each other, but also to operate with integrity. But most importantly, she taught us to think. There was a little sign on a freezer, and the freezer was in our dining room, and it just said, think. And I just focused on that sign. And, I just kind of think and process things out. As a young man, I got my a full-time job while I was in high school, and I would work from 6 in the evening and get home at 3:30 in the morning. And I was in a restaurant. And when I got out of high school, they made me the youngest general manager in the entire company. And I thought I was rich, but it's always easy to feel like you're rich when you live with your mama, right?
Woo,
so
you were balling.
I was balling, man. Church is chicken, man. I could make the big wings. So I became a district manager, a regional manager. Then I moved to Texas and got with a company called Steak and Ale. And I think that's important because growing up in the urban part of Chicago, there were people, my neighborhood, everybody looked like me pretty much. And when I went to Texas and I was in Midland, Odessa, and Abilene, then nobody looked like me. And it was a different culture, but it worked out well for me. I got along great with everyone. I was a general manager. We had a lot of success. I had 150 employees. And it worked out well because I realized that people are people. People had the same anxieties. People want to be heard. They want a better life for their children. They just want to know that they're doing something worthwhile, that they're not less than or they're being left behind or being ignored. And I did that for a few years and then moved back and became an entrepreneur. I opened up several companies. And the one thing about owning a business, I mean, that's the American dream, but you own the business, but sometimes the business owns you. And I had no time. I'm working 80 hours a week, 7 days, sometimes 17 hours in a day. And the frustrating part of it was that when you have a family, you have to spell love with quality TIME. And I just didn't have it. So I walked away from everything and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and got involved in the home-based business arena with network marketing. And I was really skeptical. Not something I thought I could do, wanted to do, thought about doing, but it worked out well. And that was back in May of 1994, and January of 1995, I was able to walk away from my job. Now, in my time there, I developed my skills as a speaker and a trainer because all of our success was based upon our ability to duplicate ourselves, to teach other people, to present
Yes.
our opportunity, train them how to do it, and then listen to them to work around their schedules and works into their own strengths, into their
Yes.
own beliefs.
Well, let's take a minute real quick because you said
Yeah,
something that something that caught my attention, boom, right off the bat was
yeah,
your mother on your refrigerator had the word think.
yeah.
And I believe that many of us,
Hmm.
whether you work for someone or you're an entrepreneur, we don't think for ourselves.
Hmm.
I've
Yeah.
noticed that many people don't think for themselves. We're so used because we're so used to being told what to do. I think in school we're told what to do. We're taught to go to college. We're told what to do. We're told to get a job 9 to 5, and we're told what to do. Somebody goes to the military, they're told what to do, right? They
Yeah.
tell you wake up at 5. Do you think that more people would succeed, more entrepreneurs would succeed in life if they could learn to think better for themselves? That's the first question. And then the second question would be, how can they improve their thinking for themselves?
Okay. Well, that's a real good question. Well, first of all, yeah, I agree with that. If they were aware of it, that possibility even existed because we believe that we are thinking for ourselves. People will just stand on their podium and say, "That's just the way I am." That's me. You know how I am. And sometimes you want to say, "Well, why don't you try being somebody else?"
It hasn't worked out so far, so let's try something else.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, our paradigm is set from before we're 7 years old, the way we're going to see the world. When you're born, you have an empty slate. There's no computer that you can upload into a baby to tell them how to operate in a family or in a world. So the baby has to go on memory record whatever they see and hear as they're trying to figure out language, but they figure out behavior very quickly, how to get somebody to come to them to give them what they need based upon their behavior. And when we grow up and we tell a child, well, you don't deserve that. Sometimes that they confuse it. The wires get crossed when they get older. They feel like they don't deserve something. And then if the thinker thinks the prover will prove. So it's really understanding where does it start from. And there is another level of thinking which opens up unlimited possibilities to achieve and to live the life you desire, to give, to share, to make every single day the most incredible day of your life. Every single day is great. Some are just better. And it's just a matter of knowing you have access to it. And the cool thing is, Daniel, that everybody has access to it.
Yeah. But most people, so let me ask you this. So most people, we have access to it. And I think that's just something that we need to write this down. Dr. James Dentley just dropped the first gold nugget. We have access to whatever we need. We have access to everything we need in our thinking. You just got to open up your mindset and get out of your own paradigm. I love that you said that because it breaks my heart when I see people that I love, that I want to help, but not everybody wants your help. And I had to come to that realization. But you're right. When you open yourself up to really realize that there's other levels, because something that you told me that you hit me in the face, right? You hit me in the face. You're like, Daniel, $1 million ain't a lot of money.
Right.
And in my own thinking, I was like, that's a lot of money. But the more I thought about it, you're like, you know what? Really? What can you do with $1 million? You can't change the world.
No. Well, first of all, there's a thing called taxes. The Bible says, as a man or woman thinketh in their heart, so is he or she. From the core of your belief, what do you really believe in? And if you believe there's limitations, then there are. If you believe there's unlimited possibilities, then there are. The fact of the matter is, everything in life happens twice: the thought and then the thing, the mental and then the physical, the inner and then the outer. So any of us who are listening or watching, you can look around the room in which you're in right now and just look at every little thing, every detail of that room, even from the molding, the paneling, the paint, the chairs. Everything you see once never existed. So where did it come from? We are born in the image and likeness of our Creator. In the beginning, God created. And from the beginning of time, in our race, we've always created. We create from a cave into wherever you live at today, to eating, raw meat or eating plants, to what you can cook or recipes you can come up with today, to being able to walk as far as you could, to being able to get in the skies and go and leave this planet today. Where did all these things come from? They were not something that was new. It was the ability to do everything I just mentioned was always here. It's always been here. We just have to learn how to tap into it. to expand our realm of possibility of what's possible in our life. And that's really the key.
Well, let me ask you this. Because you went from the Chicago, working at restaurant, moving to Texas, working at a steak and ale restaurant. What did you do to really elevate your thinking? Because you just don't go from Chicago to steak and ale, come back, become an entrepreneur, and then, you become a multimillionaire. Give my audience two things that really help you to reframe your thinking, because there's struggles in between, right? So what are two things that you did to reframe your thinking, to really start thinking for yourself, but not just thinking like the same old James Dentley, the multi-millionaire, successful entrepreneur, amazing, I want to say this word, so forgive my audience, right? Badass speaker that you are. Because I admire you, man. You're awesome. You're badass. I really look up to you. That's why it's like, that's why I respect you. I love you, because you're amazing and you're a child of God and you're not ashamed to speak about God. But what are two things that you had to reframe in your thinking to help you become who you are today?
Yeah. There's two ways that everyone can change their life, and that is by the books you read and the people you spend time around. That's going to be the key. That's going to shape everything that you do. It's going to shape your character. It's going to shape how people look at you. It's going to shape how you respond and how you're communicating to other people. We're a product of our environment. Les Brown would always say, if you have 9 of your friends are dead broke, then I promise you're going to be the 10th one in the near future. The key is that when you're around people, Albert Einstein said it best. If you want to elevate to a different level of living, you must elevate to another level of thinking, because you cannot have a higher level in your living in any area with the same level of thinking that has you where you are. So you have to just learn more. And as you learn more, you know it when you can do it. You can operate, you can live it, teach it.
Okay, wow. So, but that's right? So you got the books that you read, and I like that. Say that saying that Les Brown said again.
If none of your friends are flat broke, I promise you're going to be the 10th one. Daniel, the Bible says that he who keeps company with the wise shall be wise, but he who keeps company with fools shall be destroyed. Yeah. So who are you spending your time with? Their lives. Now, people find it very difficult. How do you leave your friends, your family members? Sometimes people that live in your household. Well, you don't have to. You create separation by your dreams and goals. If you have a goal to live life better, and nobody else can see that vision and that dream but you, but if you have a goal that's really up here and everybody else's goals are a little lower, then your activities are going to be going towards your goals, which takes your time away from whatever they're doing. Now, they can still be in your life, but you don't take your eye off the goal. You have to think about those things above your head and not those things below your feet. And those things below your feet are defined as things out of God's character.
Yes, I love that. That's so true, because yesterday I got invited to go watch the football game and hang out. And it's easy to fall into that old regimen of barbecue and go out there and hang out. But I said, no, I'm going to stay home. I got a little bit of videos I got to work up and edit. But you never know, that one or two videos might be the difference with that consistency that's going to elevate your speaking, coaching, training, any business you have. Yeah. The more content you put out there, the more exposure you get, the more people will see you out there. And it's making those little subtle decisions that are key. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, man. Human beings conform. We just follow the crowd. We do what everybody else does. And that's really the key. And my mentor told me that, look at this great country. People come from all over the world to these United States to get opportunity here. Yet 97% of all people in this country retire depending on family, friends, and the federal government. My mentor said, you see where the pack is going, and you go the opposite way. Robert Frost said, 2 roads diverge by the woods, and I chose the road less traveled by. So you have to go the uncommon road, and that means sometimes you have to separate yourself from the crowd to be able to gain your true calling on the long term.
I love that. I'm going to be honest. There was a time in my life when I first started my entrepreneur business that I got sad, right? I think I even went through a week of depression, and I mean depression, because it's hard to separate yourself. When everybody's going one way, you're used to that. And there was a part, I would say about a month, that I was lonely, maybe 2 years ago, that was just like, man, because you're working by yourself. No one holds you accountable. And yes, you got people that you talk to, but it's just sometimes you catch yourself in that moment when you're alone, right? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to figure things out. First you're trying to grow a business. Second of all, you're frustrated because you don't know what you're doing sometimes. And then third of all, it's like you can't call the people you used to call, so you're kind of like you've left the people that you used to associate with. You're in the middle, and you haven't found that crowd, right? I hadn't found James Dentley yet to say, and it's like, talk to that person right now that's stuck in the middle of the mess, because you're giving some words of wisdom right now. And I went through that, right? I went through where I left that to say biker scene, fun scene. In the middle, I was frustrated. I felt lost. I got depressed. I was like, God, are you hearing me, God? Yeah. And then when everything started falling in place, it's like I said, I got it, right? I had to separate myself from people that weren't really believing in my dreams to the James Dentleys that were believing in my dreams. And when you do that, it just seems like it 10x itself, right? Like God accelerated everything I was doing 100-fold. And talk to that person right now, Dr. James Dentley, that's stuck in the middle, that's thinking about, you know what? COVID's happened. 2020 has stunk. I'm just going to give up. Talk to that person right now.
First of all, this is a perfect time. It's just such a perfect time for everyone. From the ashes rises the phoenix. In the tough times, tough times don't last, but tough people do last. The bottom line is this, is that the things that you're going through, they're going to give you the spark to succeed, because dissatisfaction is important to achievement. When you're dissatisfied with your life, no matter where it is, then you can take action away from the things that are keeping you held back, that's holding back your potential. Dissatisfaction is really the key. When we're content, they tell the story of the dog laying on a nail, and the dog's laying on the porch, and he's just howling away. And every day the dog's just howling, and a neighbor walks up and says, "What's the matter with your dog?" He said, "He's okay." And the dog's crying out in pain. He said, "No, something's wrong with that dog. That dog needs to go see a vet." He said, "No, he's okay. He's just laying on a nail." He said, "Well, why won't he get off?" He said, "He doesn't hurt bad enough yet." You see, we lay on these nails, and you can get comfortable even in the midst of your despair, because the job of life is to adapt. That's one of the human defense mechanisms of your brain, is to save you. So your brain will adapt. That's why Stockholm syndrome is actually a real thing. If a child is kidnapped away from the environment which they know, first they fight in rebellion, waiting for that parent or that guardian to come save them. But if no one comes for survival's sake, they will adapt to the ways of their captor. And that's part of survival. And that's what the brain is designed to do, to help you, to keep you from dying emotionally. Okay. Now, the other side of it is that forget about that baloney like you're by yourself. You have to learn how to communicate with yourself. When you communicate with yourself, you're communicating actually with the God in you. You have to learn how to speak and understand that God said, "I'll never leave you nor forsake you," so you couldn't possibly be alone. We all seen that little sign said footprints in the sand. It is then that you would carry. You have to operate on your faith. And faith and doubt does not exist in the same spot, Daniel. You cannot be 99% faithful like you cannot be 99% pregnant. You're either in or you're out.
Amen to that one. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty powerful. So write that down, ladies and gentlemen. Write that down, right? Don't let your mind adapt, and don't let those nails be stuck in you. Something is poking you on the side. And the more you tolerate, like Dr. James Dentley said, the more you're never going to change it. You weren't born to be mediocre. You were born for greatness. Dr. James, I want to do a shift here. I want to ask you this. When was there a time in your life, because everybody sees Dr. James Dentley right now, the TV show, everything going on, all your wins. But when was there a time in your life when you lost your confidence and you really lost yourself? And what did you find out about yourself during that time that you lost your confidence?
Well, I'll tell you, never losing confidence or faith, but being so disappointed in yourself from your behavior. And you don't understand how you let other people down. So for me, when you stumble and you let other people down, I went through a situation over 25 years ago when I got off a stage. I got 4 standing ovations, and then it went into depression because I still didn't think I was good enough. So I acted out, and I began to drink, and I began to stay up and just do that. And I finally went to my family and said, look, I'm not able to stop. I need some help. And they asked me I was ready to go and seek help. And I say, absolutely. I remember they found a place called the Soldier House out in Rockford, Illinois. I remember driving, and I remember feeling like dirt. And I remember Helen Keller, when they asked her, how did it feel to be deaf and dumb when you couldn't communicate, you couldn't speak, you couldn't, there was a void. She pointed to a plant, and they said, you felt like a plant? She said, no, I felt like the dirt. I felt like there was no life. Now, I found later that there's even life in the soil. There's energy and fuel in that soil. So even though I felt that way, I was broken down to be renewed. And in that 28-day process, I built the most amazing program of helping people to be able to change their life because I realized everybody was sick. In my studies, Daniel, I found that the body is born for addiction. We get addicted to church. We get addicted to people. We get addicted to situations. We get addicted to food. We get addicted to sleep. We get addicted to staying up. We get addicted to many, many things. So if that's the case, can we forge a path so we can be addicted to the things that we want, that would give us the growth that we want, to lead us back to becoming that child of God that we are, so we can make a bigger. Can we get addicted to being kind to one another, to be happy every single day? Can we get addicted to just loving yourself and loving people around you because you can, because you choose, not because what they give you back has nothing to do with it? Who are you going to be? Can you get addicted to knowing that you have control over the one thing, and that is how you're going to act, respond, think, and how you're going to behave yourself in this society? Who are you going to be? How are you going to show up? That's the key.
I love that. I love that. Man, you need to write that down. You have to tear yourself down sometimes. You have to go through that destruction period, right? Before you can put a new building, you have to demolish the old building. And that's what Dr. James Dentley's saying. He had to really go back to his core, and build himself back up. Mm-hmm. How many of us are hiding or running from those things that we need to deal with? And I say that, Dr. James Dentley, because I myself, you said something right now that really just spoke to my heart. You got off the stage. You had success, but you just didn't think you were good enough. Mm-hmm. And many of us, we don't even realize we're sabotaging ourselves, right? We're self-sabotaging ourselves because we don't have the capacity to receive what the Father wants to give us. We don't have the capacity to receive what the world wants to give us. And in doing that, we run back to what it's like the Bible says, right? We run back to the vomit. We're like that dog that runs back to the vomit, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah, because the thinker thinks to prove or prove. But see, you live life forward, you understand life backwards. When you called me and you expressed to me that, wow, I don't know if I deserve this, all this stuff that's happening. How can I give you words of encouragement unless I lived it already? Yes. So that was a blessing. So these things are necessary so you may bless someone else. And isn't that what Jesus did?
Yes. And what did you learn about yourself after you came out of this season? You did a program. Mm-hmm. What did you learn? What was one of your biggest takeaways coming out of this season when you wow, you had to kind of recreate yourself, rebuild yourself? What did you learn about yourself at that moment? First of all, it's the power and humility. The power of humility. To not let yourself get too high about things or accolades or what other people say. Number one, to know who you are and to rest there. And then no more self. Don't be so self-reliant, as men especially. I've got to do it myself. I got to be self-reliant, self-sufficient. No one reaches their full potential by themselves. Number two. And number three is that, that the greatest gift is a service you give. Martin Luther King said, everyone cannot be famous, but everyone can be great because greatness comes through service. And we've been just exceptionally blessed because every day we look at how can we serve, how can we help make life better for the people that are around us, for the situations we walk in, what value can we bring to it? And in doing so, you keep what you have by giving it away. Yes. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, these words of wisdom are coming from a very successful businessman. Humility. I really believe that this season that our world has gone through with the pandemic has really humbled a lot of people, because a lot of people seem to have it together, and then everybody got punched in the face and didn't know how to react. And I believe what you're saying, Dr. James Dentley, because you're realizing that a lot of that was built on ego, pride, and they weren't humble. And it's a lesson that I've had to learn, right? And I want you to write this down right now, audiences. Humility is the key to more. Humility is the key to increase. If your business ain't growing, if you're stuck in a rut, ask yourself, am I being humble? Am I walking in humility? And I'm not talking about a false humility, but because this is the one thing that I realize is sometimes that I've experienced, Dr. James, and you can maybe add to this, is that people have a false self-humility and then they don't ask for help. Well, I can't ask for help, right? It's like a false humility. And it's really pride in disguise, I believe, right? It's like a pride in disguise.
Yeah.
So talk to that person right now that maybe needs a new understanding of what humility can really do for them and their business.
Well, first and foremost, it begins here. You have nothing to prove. You're already born of a royal priesthood, set apart, beautifully and wonderfully made, holding and lacking nothing. You have nothing to prove. You just have something to be, someone to be. The hardest thing for people to be is just to be. It's okay. It's okay. There are people out here who physically are gorgeous, but they have a hole in their life because they think no one would love them if they didn't have those good looks. There's people in life who have money and they think, well, would they really love me or care about me if I did not have this money? So everybody's searching to become something that they were already born with. But we get to confusion because the world is very noisy. It's very, very noisy. So you have to be able to communicate with yourself. And every single day, the Bible says you must kill the flesh. So every single day, I must fall in love with my wife all over again. I must fall in love with my life all over again. Fall in love with my work all over again. Like fresh flowers from a garden. Never looking on yesterday's flowers or yesterday's victories. Only today's promise for a better tomorrow. And I know if I can get Monday together, if we can keep this first day of Monday together, and I can go to bed at night, if I wake up, I'm blessed to wake up Tuesday. Tuesday starts off perfect. Then all I have to do is deal with Tuesday. After all, the Lord's Prayer says, give us this day.
Yes.
Doesn't say a week. Doesn't say a whole life. Give me a day and I'll be back to get another day tomorrow.
Boom, baby. Look at this. That's why I love this guy. That's why I look up to him. Man, you drop so much wisdom. I need to go up there to Chicago, hang out with you for a week just to hang out with you.
Hey, they're tearing up my backyard. Just restoration. They're tearing up the entire backyard where you out there taking those photos at 2 years ago.
Yes.
And it's a shamble, but it's sometimes restoration. God has to take it all down just to build it back up more beautifully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So let me ask you this. What makes Dr. James Dentley distinctive? What makes you unique? What separates Dr. James Dentley from the masses?
Well, it's very interesting. You said that. We were doing an exercise with our brand recognition. Who are we? Who are we as a brand? How do I show up? And I was asked in this exercise to, because I have mentors also. I was asked to reach out to 10 people.
You have mentors?
Oh, absolutely.
The great Dr. James Dentley?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. These are wonderful people who, it's just by coincidence, they happen to make billions and billions and billions of dollars, but they're wonderful people. And they teach that your success can be someone else's miracle. Yes. So they teach you that there's nothing you can't do. So I think there's a thing we were asked to ask 10 people we do business with, why do they do business with me? And that's the question I would ask everybody, to reach out to people around you and say, why do you like me? One word. Just give them one word. Why are you here with me? And I sent it out to 20 people, and the top 3 were trust, positive personality, okay, and my vision that there's no limits to my thinking. Those are the top 3. Now, I still got to whittle it down to 1. If the 1 would be, I don't have a limit on my thinking of what is possible. You can come back from anything. You can overcome anything. I've been through cancer. I've been through sarcoidosis. I've been through divorce. I've been through stuff. I've been through death. I've been through a lot of things. I never thought I would live to be 30. So no limits in your living. No limits in your thinking. How high can we make this go? And not just to do it, but to be able to serve humanity. To be that example. How do you tell your children you can do anything when you decide you can do some things?
Yes.
Christ said you can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Well, I would say, answering the question that you asked, why do you like me? Why do you do business with me? And the word that comes for me for you is love, right? Just the love that you exuberate. You always make me feel welcomed. I don't talk to you sometimes for a month, maybe 2, and it's like we catch up where we just left off last time. And I would say that, man. I would say that. So
I
awesome.
always talk to you. I always talk to you. You're not there, but I always talking to you. And there's no limits in the love either. There's no limits.
So right now, I want to do this. I want to do a shift here.
Mm-hmm.
We've all gone through challenges this year. We've all gone through challenges. So tell us a time that was one of your most challenging times in business. And how did you work your way through that? Because I really want to add some value to the entrepreneurs that are listening to this episode today. Tell us a time that was real challenging for you in business, and what did you do to get through it?
Yeah. I had a company with 3 incredible partners. They were all extremely talented, but we weren't the right fit for one another in that company. One was my closest friend in the world, and we haven't spoken since 2008. And I've never been upset with him. I just became indifferent because I knew there was going to be a shift in my life when I saw some things in his life that I just didn't want to be there. I couldn't condone it any further. And when I saw just the way this gentleman would treat his family and the decisions he would make and some things he've even done business-wise towards us, I decided just to separate myself from the company and step down as a CEO. And then I said, I just want to make sure our investors are repaid. Don't worry about paying me my cut. Pay the investors. And then they said, why do we have to pay them? All they can do is sue us. Now, it's kind of interesting that all the investors, 98% of them came through me. And the money was, they said a contract and it went to the company. I had nothing to do with that. I wasn't the CEO at the time. I was a co-founder. And I wasn't living there where the office and the banks were, so my name wasn't on it. I ended up becoming the CEO a little bit later. But when he said that, he had no skin in the game, but just the integrity. And at that moment, I was like a page turn. And I just knew I wanted to be a better person. So I walked away. I never asked them for money that I had coming from them. All my money was vested there. So I had to go back to a very humble lifestyle. And I was still making good money. I was still making 6 figures, but my overhead was higher. And it was really tough. My mom got sick and I moved in with her to help her. I was paying her bills. And I learned to care for another human being. And in those things, I've realized that you can do anything in your care. And that is like being in the oven or being in a crock pot. Crock pot's a real slow cook. But when that dish comes out, it smells good, it's delicate to the taste, it is perfection. So I went down there and got in that pot, and other ingredients went in that pot with me. More books, more challenges. Those challenges built you. My scars have scars built by that. So you can come out to tell the story because I'm a product of other stories that I've heard of people who've had mass challenges in their lives and came out the other side. So I've always had that belief, knowing that I'd be back and it'd be okay. But it was really tough. It took me 5 years to come from that particular, those challenges at that time. And I lost a lot of great friendships because of it. But, when I got myself together, every investor, I called them up. I said, come get it. I got it. I have your money. Come get it. And some of them would cry because 5 years had been passed. But they needed it then. And no one else was really operating that way. So I just wanted to be that person. And that situation where I lost almost $1 million and lost my friendships and lost credibility because when I walked away, I did not tell our employees or reps why, because I couldn't do it without putting somebody else down. So I carried that cross myself. So those things that you would think they were the biggest challenge are the things that defined me.
Wow. That was deep right there. I hope my audience didn't miss that. Integrity. Sometimes you got to walk away from the blessings. And what stuck out to me was it's a quote that I remember reading in a book that says, you can walk away what you've mastered. You can walk away from what you've mastered. And you walked away from your $1 million investment and look how much God has paid you back in return in the long run.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
many of us, we look at the instant gratification. We look at the instant results. And I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs right now, whether you're a speaker, trainer, have a brick and mortar, they're struggling because I just read it the other day. The Lord despises crooked scales. And if you're out there trying to make a quick buck, you're not going to make it in business. And it's hard sometimes. It's really, really hard because I get it. You got to food, you got to feed your family, you got to pay bills, you got overhead, you got this and that. But just the way Dr. James Dentley said, when you make a decision out of integrity, a moral decision to honor those that have invested in you, and maybe the people that you're partnering with or somebody that you're doing business with isn't that way, God's going to honor that if you honor him in that, right? I just read that the other day. The Lord will surround you with his circle of favor, right? With his shield of favor. And that's what he did for you. You're surrounded by God's shield of favor, Brother James, right? You have that surrounding of God's favor, because I see it all over. No matter where you look, I see happiness, success, and man, that's people need to learn that integrity is probably one of the most crucial ingredients, characters that you need for business for you to be successful. Because if you have crooked scales, you're not going to make it. You agree with that?
I totally agree with that. And the way you do little things is the way you do everything.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, as we're coming to the end of the show, I want to ask you this. What is a quote or what is a saying that the great Dr. James Dentley relies on when, because, you know, you're human, I'm human. We all have those days sometimes when you're like, can I get back in bed and wake up on the other side? So when those rare occurrences happen, what is a quote or a saying that you lean on to kind of encourage you, inspire you?
All right. Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I don't have those days.
Okay.
I don't have them. They're gone a long time ago. I keep a song in my heart. I keep a joke coming out of my mouth every single day. I make people around me laugh. I learn to live life and thank God every single day. But I will tell you that when I would have times that were challenging, there was a song that I heard and I would say it, I would sing it. And it says, I know that faith is easy when things are going well, but can you still believe in me when your life's a living hell? And when all the things around you seem to simply fade away, there's just one thing I really want to know. Will you move on? Will you stand by God's word? After the storm, will you still believe what he has said? What seems impossible, would you believe? Because every promise that he makes, you will achieve. Yes, I will trust you. So I live my life every single day with a song, being positive, making people laugh, enjoying not taking myself too seriously, but also dreaming big and working hard every single day, and just wanting to make my parents proud and now my children proud. And now they're making me and they're making me proud, and my community. And just to be in a position to serve somebody like me I have an honorary doctorate degree. I was not a good student in school. I wasn't trying to be. I never aspired to get an A or a B. Wasn't even a goal of mine. Just get out of here, pass, and let's go. And now I speak in front of some of the most prestigious companies and organizations and platforms on the planet. And that's just a testament to what God can do, to take a wretch, to take a mess and make it into something powerful and positive. And if you do it for me, you can do it for you. So the main thing is just to don't procrastinate. Just heed the story of the man who would figure and plan of all the things that he intended to do. And yet when the time came for him to get in the game, well, he never put anything through. Or he dreamed with a smile after a while of all the things he'd do pretty soon. He was all right at heart, but he never would start. Sometimes he could never quite get into tune. Yet if he had done all the things he begun, he'd be lifted amongst those of fame. But he would not produce, so he was of no use. You see, good intentions would not win the game. It is easy to dream, to plan and to scheme, and then let dreams drop out of sight. But only the ones who put through what the dreams bring to view will be the ones who will win the fight. So the main thing I can say is, when you have a dream, you put through what your dreams bring to your view, and you're going to win.
Yes, I love that. And I agree with them. And ladies and gentlemen, I had the pleasure of being with this man in the beginning of 2020. And what he's saying is true. He was in so much pain. I turned around. I'm like, where's Dr. James? And literally you were on the floor in pain, but not once did I hear you complain. Not once did I hear you complain. And I looked at you and it broke my heart. And I was just like, because I knew you were, but never did you let it damper our day, anyone's day. So what he's saying, ladies and gentlemen, he's the man that not just talks it, but he walks it. So I'm honored to call you my friend. I'm honored to call you my brother. And I'm honored to have you on my show. I know we've been talking about it. And I want you to let my audience know, where can we get a hold of this amazing Dr. James Dentley? I love you, my brother, and I want you to know. I just want you to know that you mean a lot to me.
Thank you so much.
And I'm glad God put us together, man. I really, really am.
Yeah, thank you so much.
There was a point in my life when I was just not sure of what to do. And I cried out to God, and he led me to you. And look at what he's done with our friendship. And I just want to say thank you for being there. But let our audience know, where can we find you, sir? Where can we find you, my friend?
Well, we're launching a streaming TV network. So for people who want to find a little bit more about me, they can go to Google or go to jamesdentley.com. But December 11th, 12th, and 13th, we have this incredible, empowering virtual summit with some of the most incredible speakers in the world. And, if you tune in to us, we'll give you a discounted ticket to be a part of it, to be a part of the history of launching our JD3 TV network. And we're looking for people who want their own shows, or we want to be on a show. It'd be pretty cool to show everybody you on television, call the parents out, the kids out. Hey, I'm coming on TV. Turn to the channel. And that's going to be really cool. So look out for JD3 TV, or you can reach me directly at JD number 3 TV.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was an amazing episode with the one and only Dr. James Dentley, all the way from Chicago. Loves this gentleman. If you loved what you heard on this show, please join our Distinctive Syndicate group on Facebook. We would love for you to come and join our community, join our family. We got a lot more just content like this, and we'll see you next week here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Thank you for tuning in this week. Don't forget to review your notes and learn from the wisdom of this amazing man. Have a great week, everybody. This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.